What's up, YouTube? This is True Raw for TV. Right before I get into this video, I want to remind you guys, as always, if you're watching this video and haven't subscribed to True Raw for TV, please subscribe to True Raw for TV. If you haven't hit the notification button, hit that notification button so that you'll be notified of every video that drops on this channel as soon as it drops. And if you haven't hit that like button, if you like or at least appreciate the content on this channel, please hit the like button. Now, I don't want to keep beating the same dead horse over and over and over again. So, unless he does something or says something that's noteworthy, I'm going to kind of chill a little bit on talking about James Harden. Well, when I say chill, I mean for the rest of the day. But I want to talk about exactly why James Harden rubs me the wrong way. Now, it cannot be disputed that the guy is a prolific scorer. You know, he's putting up numbers, scoring wise, that we have rarely seen in the history of the NBA. You know, there's only been a few guys to score at the clip that he's scoring at. Wilt Chamberlain, a couple of, seasons in his career, his rookie year when he averaged 37.6, I think it was. His sophomore year when he averaged 38.4. Then the 50.4 points per game season that's so celebrated in NBA history. Then the 44.8 in the 62-63 season. And then I think it's a 36.9 in the 63-64 season. Of course, Rick Barry had a season where he averaged, I think it was 35.6 points per game. Elgin Baylor had a season where he averaged 38.3 points per game. Only played 48 games that year due to service, I think, with the Army. Then, of course, you have to put up there Jordan's 37.1 in 86-87 and Kobe's 35.4 in 2005-2006. So it's only been a select few to score at the clip that James Harden is scoring, to average over 35 points per game for a season. My issue with James Harden is more on how he's doing it. See, you can, it's not a perfect comparison, but it'll be like a guy who is hyped as the most devastating knockout puncher in the history of boxing, and he's knocking out people left and right. I mean, just knocking out everybody, right? But it'll be like a guy like going old school, like Mac Foster. It'd be like him, or a more contemporary boxer, maybe like Gennady Golovkin, who's knocking out Uber drivers or taxi drivers or guys who are just a perfect, matchup for him. A guy just kind of flat-footed, stands in front of him, fight, not very mobile. Guys who are washed up, or guys who are not really good fighters, guys who are novices or neophytes in boxing, haven't had a lot of experience. So they look good, and then they might be wearing 8-ounce gloves and maybe even plaster of Paris if they can get away with it. You know what I'm saying? They're bending all the rules and circumstances in their favor. But the moment they step up in competition, right, and they fight, a Jared Quarry or Muhammad Ali, or they fight a Canelo Alvarez or what have you, then you start seeing the truth. You know what I'm saying? Yes, they're knocking out a lot of people, but there's certain things that you have to look at. But then you have George Foreman, who knocks out everybody, and can knock down everybody. And a guy like a George Foreman and a Rocky Marciano who can carry that knockout ability deep throughout the fight, not just the first couple of rounds, but they can knock out people in the 10th, 11th, 12th, and in Rocky's day, even beyond that. All right, we saw Rockies' devastating knockout of Jersey Joe Walcott. I think it was the 13th round. So there's different levels to this thing. And James Harden, to me, it's just, yeah, he's put up some great numbers. He's most likely going to lead the NBA in scoring again. At this rate that he's going, um, because he's so interested in winning the MVP award, um, at the rate he's going the best what he averaged last year. I'm just, I don't know, man. It's just so many things about him that just irritate me. Great scorers like a Jordan, a Kobe, a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Yes, they could put the ball in the basket at a ridiculous rate. But whenever they were in a situation, this is the thing I noticed about these guys. All of these guys got annoyed. Yeah, they came into the NBA. They wanted to show what they could do. But losing quickly ruined, you know, the individual brilliance. You know what I'm saying? Like, these guys wanted to win. And they're willing to do whatever they had to do to start being in that situation. They could modify their games. Um, yes, Kobe and Mike and Kareem could still score, but they were willing to sacrifice their games in order to win. You know what I'm saying? Like, Kareem in his heyday with the Bucks was putting up 32, 35, 34 points per game, 16, 17 rebounds. He was doing everything. But they learned quickly that less was more. And then, when Kareem was with the Lakers, initially he was putting up, 25, 26, 10 rebounds. You know what I'm saying? And as he got older, more like 23, 24. He was playing within a system. He was playing within a system. And within that system, Kareem was able to flourish. But he played within a system where everybody ate, everybody contributed. Even Kobe, yeah, he still was putting up 26, 27, 28 points per game, but he's playing within a system with Phil Jackson. The same thing with Michael Jordan. He was still winning scoring titles, but he wasn't, jacking up 27, 28 shots a game anymore. More like 22, 23 shots per game. And he was playing within the system. He learned to play off the ball, and he scored for his team. He became he was still a scorer, but he was more of a weaponized scorer. He usually was the go-to guy when the team needed buckets throughout the game, and he was a closer. That was his role. All right. If you watch the Chicago Bulls, especially the second three-peat, you will know that Scottie Pippen had the ball even more so than Michael Jordan. Jordan could bring the ball up on occasion, so could Ron Harper, so could Steve Kerr. But usually Pippen was sort of the point forward of that team, and he had the ball more than Jordan. James Harden is not willing to sacrifice his scoring for championship. He's not going to do it. He shows no inclination to do so. This season alone has solidified whatever doubts I had about James Harden being a guy who wants to win championship. He's not concerned about that. He's concerned about individual achievement. And if I was a Houston Rocket fan, even though it's not going to happen, I would want the organization to trade this guy because they're not going to win a championship with this dude. All right. In the playoffs, when they're playing up against increasingly superior competition, Harden ball gets exposed. D'Antoni ball gets exposed. And I feel for Russell Westbrook having to play with this guy. Another thing, too. Usually, Allen Iverson's an exception to the rule because of the way he played. You know what I'm saying? Slashing. He got fouled a lot. But generally speaking, the players who usually shoot the most free throws, at least when I was growing up, were scoring big men because they were in positions, they were playing positions where there was a lot more physical contact. So it made sense for a Moses Malone or a Karl Malone or in his prime, David Robinson, or definitely a Shaquille O'Neal. All right. It made sense for these guys, Charles Barkley, when he was doing this thing. It made sense for these guys to lead the NBA or be amongst the leaders in free throw attempts. All right. A guy like James Harden, I don't understand why he shoots so many free throws. He gets way too many preferential calls by the officials. Way too many. And the thing about it in the playoffs, when a lot of times the refs start swallowing their whistles because playoffs, they tend to allow more physical play. That's when um, my bad, y'all. I had to get a phone call right quick, but yeah, a guy like James Harden has mastered the art of manipulating the rules to get foul calls. And I guess if you want to call it a skill, it's a skill, but I don't know if it's a admirable skill. Um, LeBron James, who's very physically imposing at 6'8" and 250, but probably more like 265 or whatever, 270. Um, for his career, 22% of his points have come from the foul line. Michael Jordan, 23% of his points for his career have come from the foul line, or came from the foul line. Although, as more and more players and coaches and organizations complained that he was getting a lot of preferential calls, his free throw attempts started to dip from the 87 season when he led the NBA in free throw attempts to by 93, he was getting far less foul calls. So what did he do? He became more of a jump shooter. He started relying more and more on his mid-range jump shooting and wasn't getting as many foul calls. Kobe Bryant, 25% of his points for his career came from the foul line. And there was some times where some people complained that Kobe got preferential calls. But this dude is on a whole different level, a whole entire different stratosphere. All right. Since the 2012-13 season, James Harden, almost 31% of his points, almost 31% of his points have come from the foul line. Not to mention the fact that he takes full advantage of the three-point shot. He takes more three-point attempts than anybody in the history of the NBA, including Steph Curry. All right. Although he's not as accurate from the three-point range as Steph Curry or Ray Allen or Reggie Miller or Dale Ellis or Pedro Stojakovic or Glenn Rice or B.J. Armstrong or Drazen Petrovic. And the list goes on and on. All right. So he's the epitome of a volume scorer. Last night, he scored 44 points but missed 16 out of 28 shots. But it doesn't matter because all people care about is what's on the point, point total. That's all they care about. You know what I'm saying? You have to wonder. Last year, he averaged 36.2 points per game. But if you take away the three-point shot, his average goes down to 31. You have to wonder if Pete Maravich played in this era, how many points would he average? During the 76-77 campaign, Pete Maravich averaged 31.1 points per game for the then New Orleans Jazz. But you have to wonder if the three-point shot was implemented back then. You have to wonder how many points would Pete Maravich have averaged that season. They already recalculated that if the three-point shot was around when Pete Maravich played in college, he would have averaged 57 points per game instead of 44 points per game. So you do wonder how many points would a Jerry West or a Gail Goodrich, or even a Bob Pettit would have averaged if the three-point shot was around since the 40s. Um, Bill Sharman is another one. Another one that comes to mind would be Dolph Schayes. You have to wonder how many points would these guys have averaged and how many more points they would have scored if the 3-point shot was around. So that's why I say James Harden on the surface is a great scorer, and he's putting up numbers at a proficiency and prolific rate that has rarely been seen in the NBA. Yeah, what he's doing is truly historic, but the way he's doing it is kind of cheap. And then we all know that at the end of the day, during the playoffs, Harden ball gets exposed. Until he proves me otherwise, I just can't look at him and put him in the pantheon of great scorers. Because honestly, to me, the best scorer in the league is not playing this year. That's Kevin Durant. Now, Kawhi Leonard may be the best all around player, but to me, the best pure scorer is Kevin Durant. And Kevin Durant's not nearly as selfish as James Harden. Like, I don't even know if Kevin Durant's even averaged 20 shots a game for a season. I think he's always around 18, 19 shots. But just imagine if Kevin Durant was on a team where he got that many preferential calls, shooting like 16 free throw attempts a game or 17 free throw attempts per game. Listen how absurd it is. Imagine if Kevin Durant had the green light to shoot the ball 25 times and was shooting 15 3-point attempts and got to the foul line 16, 17 times a night. James Harden would average 40. Kobe Bryant would average 40. Michael Jordan would average 40 plus. Dominique Wilkins would average 40. There's nothing really special with what James Harden's doing. He's just getting a green light that nobody really in the history of NBA outside of Wilt Chamberlain has had. That's all. He's just got a green light that nobody else has had. His light is greener than anybody's in the history of the NBA. That's all it is to it.